Our sponsor for the user group session today is Spotlight Cloud from Quest. Spotlight Cloud is the first Azure-hosted database performance monitoring solution that focuses on SQL Server customers. It leverages the scalability, performance, and built-in security of Microsoft Azure Cosmos DB and provides you that best of cloud experience using Quest's engineering insights from years of their experience with SQL Server. That I've been using different Quest tools throughout the years, especially the Spotlight series, since probably 1999-ish. And it's always been something I've always looked at using, and it's been a great help in the environments that I've been able to use it in. And with that, I'm going to hand things over to Kamil with his presentation today, Azure Data Factory V2 with data flows capabilities.
Yeah,
all right,
so
you are now the presenter.
Okay, cool.
Yep, and we can see your slide deck. Looks great.
Fantastic. Okay, hello guys. Thank you very much for giving me these opportunities to present my topic, which is the Azure Data Factory, mapping data flow today, first blood or mapping data flow capabilities. So my name is Kamil Nowinski, and I'm Microsoft Data Platform MVP. I'm speaking, I'm blogging. I'm currently working as a data engineer at ASOS. So also I'm founder of the blog SQLPlayer.net, which basically I would like to spread a few words about it, because on this blog you will be able to find not only the technical posts about some data platform things, but also the podcasts. So the podcast, which is the interview with very well familiar people from our IT market, from our SQL family. So you can find out those interviews in audio version and as well as a transcript version to read it. And so, yeah, I would like to encourage you to visit the blog and check this out. So let's go to today's topic, which is the Azure Data Factory. So what is the Azure Data Factory basically? So the Azure Data Factory is the tool. So it's an orchestration tool that allows you bring and move the data from point A to point B. So you can use many various connectors to read, to write your data, and so you can read the data which is in unstructured form, for example, semi-structured, and as well as structured form as well. So so the data factory is only keeping the metadata of your pipelines and other related objects, but you can move and copy the data, the streams to other destinations, like for example Azure Storage, or you can use the other services like big data clusters in Azure Databricks, for example. And your targets can be like Azure SQL Data Warehouse or Azure SQL Database, but also you can put your data or the stream that you are working with to your on-premise SQL Server if you need. So as I mentioned, we have plenty of connectors available. So currently there's more than 80 of them. So you can use whatever you need, whatever you want, okay? So what is the key concept of Azure Data Factory? Very briefly. So we have the pipelines. The pipelines is basically the logical group of activities. What is the activities then? So the activities can produce data, can produce data sets in form of tables, files, and etc., but also can consume some data. And the data sets can represent and connect to the linked services, which is the connectors, yeah? And at the end, the activities can also be run on linked services and other servers. So then why we need and what is that the mapping data flows? So using only the pipelines in Azure Data Factory, you can copy or move your data very easily. I mean, you can copy the existing structure. You can change the changes on the stream or the structure of the data or the data sets. You basically have to bring the data as they present. So if you want to do some transformation, some aggregation, some more sophisticated operation on the data, on your data stream, on your data set, you need to use something else. So, and at that point, the mapping data flows comes with help. So using the mapping data flows, you can do all the other transformation that you can do in SSIS, for example. Yeah. Okay. So what is another very good and cool feature is that basically behind the scenes, the mapping data flow use the clusters, the big data clusters in Databricks. So, but don't worry, you don't have to know any additional or extra language like Scala, like Python, and other things. Basically, whatever you need to do is basically build the diagram in mapping data flows. If you build it, everything will be done for you. So you don't have to write any line of code. So how it works and where basically these data flows are. So the data flows, mapping data flows still is in a private preview. So you need to ask to, oh, sorry, maybe, yes, still probably in private preview. You need to ask Microsoft to be able to see this. But this basically will happen and will appear in your panel on the left-hand side. So you can basically build very simple copy data flow like this one, but that kind of activities, that kind of scenario or flow you can build using the pipeline, yeah? So no big deal. But we would like to basically use some more action, so more activities, so more components to play with data. So that kind of activities you can use today with mapping data flow. I will show you only a few of them during the presentation because we don't have so much time to cover all the topics, all the components here. But yeah, we'll see some short demonstration about how to build the simple stream in mapping data flow. So if you would like to compare the SSIS, which probably we know already, the tool, so in SSIS, the data flow looks like this, okay? And in the Azure Data Factory, mapping data flow looks something like this, okay? So obviously there's different actions here happening, but don't worry. I mean, I wanted to just show how the diagrams, how your screen will looks like. So if you want to build some data flow, you can organize them in folders as well. So which is good information, because if you have too much of them, or if you have plenty of the data flows or data sets or pipelines, the folders can help you. So if you're building something more sophisticated, the diagram might look like this, and we can call it authoring of Azure Data Factory in V2, obviously. We're still talking only about the V2 of Azure Data Factory. So if you want to add a new action or new component to the diagram, to the flow, you can click on the small plus icon here, and you will see the menu where you can pick up one of the options. Yeah. So as I mentioned, there's something behind the scenes. Yeah. So if we're using Azure Data Factory pipeline or data flow, everything, the whole code is stored as a JSON format. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's only metadata of Azure Data Factory in Azure Portal. But when you would like to run this this pipeline or data flow, the JSON code is understanding by the engine and convert and compile to the jar library, the Scala jar library, and then deploying to the Azure Databricks. But again, don't worry, you don't have to know Azure Databricks at all, because everything is happening for you. So basically, the cluster of the Azure Databricks is spinning up for you behind the scenes. Okay, so you don't have to know anything about Azure Databricks. You don't have to even spin up the cluster in Azure Databricks. Okay, so let's do some demo. Let's try to create some data flow from the scratch. So I will switch. So now probably you will see the browser, yeah? Just want to confirm. So as I mentioned, we have the data flows here. So I will create a new one, add data flow, and let's build or add one source at the beginning. So my source in this case will be the badges. So the badges is the table from Stack Overflow. This example data flow, example database that I exported to my SQL database, and then I've exported to CSV, because in this case I will show you that I will be reading the data from a flat file from the CSV directly, located in my blob storage. So okay, it will be the badges, and let's create the new data sets, because also I want to show you something. So I would like to create data set for the blob storage. Okay, and now the CSV format, and it will be like CSV badges. It will be data set. Link services, I've already created my link services, so I will use the only one blob storage connector. And now I can use the button browse to check what is my path to this data. So as you can see, I have the folder Stack Overflow here. I have badges. I will pick up this one, and everything happened for me. Okay, so I will use the import schema from the connector, and that's finished. So I've created my first source and first dataset. Okay, so let's check how it works and if that works. Yeah, so we have the preview button here as well, and we can check using this button. We can check if our file looks good and our data will be loaded in a good way. So let's do that. So as you can see right now, the data doesn't look good, yeah, because my column delimiter is currently defined a bit different that we have in the CSV file. So let's change it. So the column delimiter is here, so I will change it to pipe character, and as you can see, the row limiter is auto detection here. And also I would like to use the first row as a header. Okay, so let's do the preview now. And as you can see, the data looks perfectly right now. So that was easy, isn't it? So yeah, we can back to our data flow. So we have the badges, we have the data flow. So I will change this to the sampling. It's also a very nice feature if you're building the new data flow and you would like to test it and do the data preview in some stages. I will show you that in a minute. So the limitation of that data would help you and save some time. Yeah. So okay, I've created one source. I would like to create another one because the first one I was reading the CSV file, and the second one I would like to intentionally show you that I can use completely different type of connection. Okay, so let's read the data from about users, but this time from database. Okay, and this time I use existing data set because I don't want to spare too much time on clicking data sets. And let's have a look on this data set if that works. Preview data, yeah, we have something here. Let's back here and we have the data in this source. Okay, so let's add another component, activities here. I will do join. I will join those two streams that I have right now in my data flow into the one. Okay, so let's use these activities and join those two streams. So as you can see here, I have many different and various options of different kind of joins. I can choose. The most popular is obviously inner join, and I will use that one. And now I need to define the right stream, which is basically only the second source I have in my data flow. And let's define the join condition. So something bad is here. So I have C0, which is not expected. And this is the user, and I should have the user ID, which is that one. So let's check and fix that one. And the C0, which comes from the badges. Okay, so we have the badges. Let's have a look. So this is the wrong thing. So because I changed the definition of the source, I need to restart and reset the schema. Okay, now looks better. Back to the data flow and back to the join. Yeah, now we have appropriate list of columns. So let's use the user ID. But now, as you can see, there is a bad connection. Because why? Because here we have the text type of columns, and here we have the numeric one. So obviously we can connect those two because they are different. So very quickly we can change these types in the badges stream. So let's do that in projection. So we know that ID is the integer numeric one and user ID as well. Okay, let's back to our join. And everything should be good now. Or maybe what we need to do, let's delete that. We have, yes, it's good right now. So yeah, so it was quite easy. Yeah, so we have our join. So what if I would like to, have a look on this data, have a look on this stream at this stage? I know that I didn't finish building this data flow yet, but I would like to see how the data looks like, or maybe how many records I have in there. So to do that, I can use that tab, which is the data preview, and I need to click the fetch latest preview data. So when I click it, currently the data flow in Azure Data Factory sending everything and the whole jar library to the Databricks behind the scenes, and if it's not connected and if it's not spinning up for us, it will be doing that. But because I wanted to save our time, I already turn on this switch, this one, yeah, and I've already connected to the cluster, to the Databricks cluster, and that's why I can use the debug mode and its feature like data preview. Okay, so I've already done that. So we already saved 1 minute or so. So as you can see, we have some data here. Yeah, so we have some columns, name, user. Also, we can see the types of those columns. And what's more, we can, if we click on the column, we'll see some additional information like something like some statistics about this specific selected column. Yeah, so as you can see here, we have some null values. No, sorry, we don't have null values in this column. We have some not null values. What is the average value in that column, and etc. and etc. So it's quite useful information about the data, and based on that kind of information, based on that statistics, we can check if our data is clean or not, or we need to do some maybe additional actions. Okay. So then let's add another one. Let's aggregate our stream by some columns. So I will use this this activity, which is aggregate, and then I need to configure. Let's say I will aggregate by age and name. This is our name, so this is not the name of the user. So we are grouping by 2 columns, okay? So we are grouping by age and I would like to group also by name. Okay, and what else? What I will aggregate, I would like to count all the I would like to basically use the count function. So if I click on this field, I will be able to write some expression in our new visual expression builder window. Okay, so as you can see here, I have all listed functions and columns basically available in my stream, and also I can very quickly filtering them. So there's extra information about how to use it, what is the structure of the function. So I would like to use the count, and would like to use the count by, let's say, user ID. Okay, and as you can see, if I put the wrong column name, there will be information for me because the name is case sensitive here. So okay, I did just very simple expression here because I don't want to complicate the things here. So let's have a look, because my aggregation, sorry, it's not everything. We need to add something like name, the output name. Sorry for that column, and let's have a look on the output at this specific stage. Yeah, because I've selected this component, this activity, and I would like to see how it looks like. So as you can see, we have some teacher, we have some ages here, and the count column as well. So far so good. Okay. So let's add it another one, like maybe let's filter something, because maybe we have some dirty data, and in age column we could expect some null values, and we are not interested in that kind of values. So let's filter those data, those rows. Okay, so we are filtering by age, but not null. And again, we are using this expression builder here. So not null, if we have the function like is null, yes, we have, and age, but we are interested in not null values. Okay, so this is our expression. Cool. So already we should have the filtered data, but there's no point to have a look on this data right now. So yeah, so let's say at the end we just finish our first very sophisticated data flow here, and we would like to push those data somewhere. So in that case, I will use sync component, sync activity, which is our destination. And so sync to CSV. I will use existing one. Again, I have CSV output 3, which is the same folder in my blob storage, but I have the folder like output3/CSV, where I put my file, which will be defined in the data flow in this sync component. Okay, so this is a setting, and by default is its default option, which is related to optimize tab, because every single stream you can partitioning. So if we use that current partitioning thing, we'll get so many files at the end as an output. And because I would like to use only one single partition and output to a single file, it will be like my output stream CSV, and that's it. Okay, so I've built my very first data flow. How to run this data flow now? So as you can see, I don't have the debug or run button here. I have only the buttons like save, validate, and debug settings. So let's save all those things that we've done so far. And because I have the Git repository connected to my data flow, it was very fast. And basically, I would encourage you to use and set up the Git repository at the beginning of your adventure with Azure Data Factory, because it's very, very useful, believe me. So now I've said everything. So I need to run this data flow, I need to create simple pipeline, because only from pipelines you can run the data flow as a component. Okay, so let's create new pipeline. Yeah, data flow run. Okay, and then let's add this activity. So I drag and drop my I drag and drop the activity like data flow, which is in preview, and I would like to use the existing data flow because we already created one. So what was the name of this? DS, yes. Not so, this is the data set. Sorry about that, I need to have a look. What was my data flow? I can see it. So my data flow is like just data flow 1. So again, data flow 1 and just click finish. Okay. So yeah, I have my very simple pipelines, but behind the scenes in this data flow, it might be very sophisticated and complex, and doing all those business logic that you need to do. So let's save it again. Let's validate everything. Everything looks good. So let's run this data flow. And now, as you can see, the pipeline, our pipeline has been run, and we will be able to see, whoops, or maybe not. Sometimes it happens, still it's in preview. Maybe we'll be able to see in a few seconds. If not, I will show you something very similar that I tested the same or very similar flow before we started the session to show you how the Azure Data Factory and showing you the execution plan of mapping data flow. Okay, so let's refresh it. Still running, and still we have the error. So I will go here because I've tested this one, and I will show you how the execution data flow looks like. So as you can see, there's all the components, all the activities from the data flow shown here, and you can see how many rows has been processed and in how long it took in time. Okay, so this was like 6 million of rows in 2 minutes and 29 seconds. And if we click on one of the component, you will see some extra information, again, about some very basic information, statistical information, or something like how many new columns we have, how many columns we have updated in this activity, and also how many partitions do we have in these activities in this stage. Okay, so if you click on some sync type of activity, you will be able to see the mapping basically. So the mapping is, this is the target, the output column on the left here, and there's an original source. The column is coming from the user ID from that pages from CSV source. So also we know that information, we've got this information about the method of, you know, the transformation that column passed. So this is also very useful information. You don't have something like this in SSIS. Okay, so let's back to our new data flow and see if that finish. Yeah, that succeed. And as you can see, the whole execution plan is available for us here as well. Okay, so all the information is here, and let's check if our file has been produced and landed in the blob storage, because that was our target. Yeah, so here I have the Azure Storage Explorer. Let's go to the output, to the CSV, and this is my file. Okay, created just a few minutes ago with small size. Okay, so this is how we can build, how we can, you know, how we can run our new data flow, how we can debug, how we can have a look on the data on each stage, which is very cool in my opinion. And also you can change the types in the projections. You can inspect your structure of the stream and etc. Yeah, so this is it from this demo. Okay, I would like to check if I not forget about anything. Probably not. Okay, let's back to the slides then. So you already seen this information about data preview. So you can check, you can use this tab to check the data, and I've seen you the data flow execution plan. Obviously, if you have more sync type of activities, you will see more information in here. And the data flow, data range, it was that way. Okay, so what is the takeaways from this session? It's not the finish, but I would like to wrap up some the most important information. So with the Azure Data Factory, so the mapping data flow is still in preview stage, but probably it will finish and will be private or public preview, sorry, pretty soon. I can't reveal when exactly. And so another thing is that you basically will not longer need to use and spin up your own Azure Databricks, because previously we have to create our own Azure Databricks and connect to this. Currently, you just basically don't have to worry about it. Microsoft and Azure Data Factory doing this for you. And also, you can create create your own template and use the existing templates from Azure Data Factory templates gallery to create some sophisticated business logic or I don't know, for example, the incremental loading for your data warehouse, or maybe slowly changing dimension scenario for your tables, and etc. Yeah, so you don't have to rebuild or build the data flow from the scratch. You can create the data flow. Also, you can clone the existing one, or you can use the template to build the data flow very quickly. Okay, so the new capabilities that appeared 2 months ago or so in the version 2 is that for the source transformation, for source component, you can use the wildcards file sets. You can move the files, which is basically deleted the files. You can also auto-detect the types of the files, and you can do the schema validation and also the query statement for databases. For sync transformation, you can output all the data to the only one single file, which was not available before that upgrade. You can even clear the folder or do the truncate destination table, which is really cool. And also you can use naming patterns, which is also very important in some scenarios. So new data sets that appear for the data flows as a data sets is the Parquet. It's a very good format if you would like to work with big data, and if you would like to store in column in the column type of storage, or you can use the CSV, which is the extended type of data sets comparing to the Azure Data Factory in the pipeline. and the standard data flow. They are a bit different. Okay, so another one that might be interest you a little bit, because we all know the integration services from SQL Server. So if you have the skills from SSIS and you would like to start using the Azure Data Factory data flow, the new capabilities, the new opportunities, there's some cheat sheets that you can use to build and rewrite your current scenario maybe, and you can, with that, you can compare the type of components exist in SSIS to those exist in Azure Data Factory data flows. And also you can check that what is the equivalent in SQL Server. So there's a whole PDF page of that table, and here you can see the links where you can download it. There are some resources if you would like to have a look and read more about this topic, and also I would like to encourage you again to visit my blog. I'm writing sometimes about Azure Data Factory, and I will post more about it. So check the tag ADF-DF, which is the data flow in Azure Data Factory, and you will find more information. Okay, I finished that one, and I think this is the time for questions and answers part of the session.
Oh, excuse me. Yeah, so we got a couple questions in there right now. The first is, can you write .NET code as you can do in SSIS?
Unfortunately not. As far as I know, there's not possible to write the .NET code. I mean, you can use some external, not in the data flow. You can use the pipeline to write some custom activities and use the Azure functions, for example. And in that way, probably you will be able, but I'm not very familiar with Azure functions, but in that way, it would be probably possible, but natively in data flows, not.
Okay. And then the second question that we have in here is it possible to assign the read file name dynamically?
In the source, you mean the file dynamically?
Yeah.
Oh, don't remember that one. Let's have a look. So we have the badges. This is our source, yeah? And this is, so we have, yeah, wildcard. So this maybe is not quite dynamic like you would wish to use, but at least you can use the wildcard and list column store. So not quite dynamic, but you can also put the list of the files that you have in the specific location, and you can, in the next stage, you can filter those files.
All right. And then the third question we have here is, what is sync?
What is what? Sync? Sync.
Yeah.
Sync, that one. So yeah, this is funny because also I was surprised when I see this activity. So this basically is a target. Yeah, this is our destination. The new nomenclature has been introduced here.
Okay. And then the last question is more of a comment. Is somebody tried to reach the ADF DFVS SSIS URL and was not able to reach it?
I'm not sure if I understand the scenario, the question.
There was a bit.ly, and it might have been something that you had. One second here. I'm going to try and go to it myself. But they were saying that there's some link that is related that they weren't able to get to. The ADF versus SSIS link.
You are talking about this link.
Yeah.
So this one doesn't work or what?
Yeah, I'm checking it myself.
Uh-huh.
And I think it's case sensitive.
Shouldn't be, but I'm not sure. Anyway, if that doesn't work, or just try to reach me out, and I will, or you can find the link on my blog. So there's a blog post about it on my blog. So this one, and there's a whole table with the full list of components, and there's also a link to the GitHub repository. If you click in this download it PDF, so you will reach my Git repository where you will find this cheat sheet.
Okay.
Okay.
And then another question that we have in there is, when updating Azure SQL database from Azure DevOps CI/CD pipeline, could you trigger an ADF data flow from the deployment?
Could you what? Sorry?
Can you trigger an ADF an ADF data flow from the deployment through the Azure DevOps continuous integration, continuous deployment pipeline?
So the question is, can you trigger the
ADF data flow
from the Azure DevOps? Yeah, you can use some tricks. I'm not sure if you natively can do that, because so the Azure DevOps is to deploy your Azure Data Factory, for example. Yeah. So also you can use some PowerShell scripts. So some PowerShell commandlets to do those things, but there's, as far as I remember, there's no option to run, but I'm not sure 100% right now, to run selected pipeline. Yeah, so but also you can use some trick, because the triggers, for example, can be run by the new files in the blob storage. For example, this is one of the way how you can run the specific pipeline via the trigger. Yeah, but this, this may be not the ideal scenario that you would like to use.
Great. And then the last thing is, someone's asking if you can bring up the references links slide again.
With which link? With this one?
That
resources. So obviously there's you can copy that link.
Yeah, we can't click the screen, so.
Yes, but obviously the presentation will be available on my GitHub repository. So I will publish it just after our session, so you will be able to download it and check all the links. Yeah, so don't worry about it. All right. So also, if you have any other further extra question, just try to follow me up on the Twitter, or write an email to me. This is my email, this is my Twitter handles, and the link to my blog. Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah.
Sounds great. Thanks for presenting today, and thank you everyone for attending. And with that, I'm going to close out the session, and hopefully we will see everyone next week. Goodbye.
Thank you and goodbye.